Some nights feel too quiet, like the world forgot to breathe with you. That was the kind of night it was. No music, no city hum, just the soft tick of the wall clock and the low hiss of the kettle cooling down on the stove. I sat on the edge of my bed scrolling through nothing. My thumb moved out of habit, not purpose. The apartment felt still, heavier than usual. Maybe it was just the rain outside, barely there, like distant static. Or maybe I was just tired in a strange, bone-deep way. I live alone, have for almost 3 years now. It's not bad. Silence becomes a kind of friend if you don't stare at it too long. I brushed my teeth, fed the cat I don't have, out of muscle memory, then turned off the last light and crawled under the blanket, phone still in hand. That glow, the glow of the screen, soft and cold. It makes you feel like you're never really alone, but sometimes it makes you feel watched. I don't know why I opened the photo gallery. I wasn't looking for anything, just scrolling, a few old screenshots, a picture of my coffee from yesterday, a blurry street lamp, a meme I didn't laugh at. Then I stopped. There was a photo I didn't recognize, square format. Timestamp, 2:44 a.m. Tonight. I clicked it, already knowing I shouldn't. The picture showed my bed, my room, the same dull lamp glow on the nightstand, same rumpled sheets, same phone in my hand. But what stopped my breath was me. I was in the photo, lying there asleep, eyes closed, face turned slightly toward the wall, peaceful, still, like I was posing for something. My blood ran cold. I sat up, the same position as in the photo, suddenly aware of every sound, every shadow. I checked the timestamp again. It wasn't from the cloud, it wasn't edited, it was just there. I live alone. No one could have taken it. I whispered that out loud, like saying it would make it truer. I live alone. I checked the front door, locked. Balcony closed, no windows open, no mirrors facing the bed. I tried to tell myself it was nothing, some weird phone glitch. Maybe I set a timer by accident, but I don't use the timer, and I don't sleep with the lamp on. My fingers were trembling as I pressed and held the screen. Delete, gone. The photo blinked out of existence, swallowed by digital dark. I put the phone face down, laid back, tried to slow my breathing, tried to stop thinking about how close the photo had been taken, tried not to wonder what else the camera might have seen. I woke up too early, not with a jolt, not like in the movies, just opened my eyes, quietly, like something had nudged me from inside. The room was gray with morning, the kind of light that doesn't come from the sun, more like the sky is just glowing out of habit. I reached for my phone, habit again, check the time. 6:07 a.m., notifications, none. Battery, 28%. Sleep, light, but dreamless. I almost forgot, almost, until my thumb swiped right, toward the gallery, and I froze. The photo was there, back, but different. Same bed, same angle, but I wasn't wearing the same clothes. Last night I went to sleep in a black t-shirt and boxers. In this photo, I was in a gray hoodie, socks, like I had gotten up, changed, laid back down again. But I didn't. I didn't, and that's not what chilled me. What chilled me was the edge of the frame, not what was in the photo, but what was almost in it, a shape, barely there, just the edge of a shoulder, a curve, standing near the doorway. I stared at it for too long. It didn't move, obviously, but I felt its stillness, like it was trying not to be seen, like it wasn't supposed to be caught. I zoomed in. The pixels broke apart, still. The silhouette stayed, heavy, watching. I live alone. I whispered it again, but it didn't work this time. There was a ringing in my ears now, faint, constant, like pressure behind my eyes. I got up, walked through the apartment slowly, every door, every closet. I even opened the fridge. Not because I thought it was hiding in there, just because it was the only thing I could control. The photo sat in my phone like a pulse. I took a deep breath, deleted it again, but it didn't feel like erasing something. It felt like daring something. There was no logical explanation. No friend I could call at 6 a.m. and say, "Hey, someone's taking photos of me while I sleep," from inside the room. And I think I'm not alone. I thought about leaving, hotel, anywhere. But the idea of running from your own home feels stupid until you can't convince yourself it's yours anymore. Instead, I sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, phone on the table, face down. I didn't cry, but I felt something close. Something like grief for the comfort I'd lost, for the trust I had in ordinary things, like doors and sleep and photos that belong to you. Tomorrow night, I won't sleep. I'll set up the camera, record everything. I'll watch the dark until it blinks first, because if the photo comes back again, I need to know what's standing behind me. I didn't sleep, not even a little. Not because I was strong or brave or prepared, because sleep felt wrong. Like lowering your eyes in a room where something else is still staring. I set up the phone to record, wide angle, full view of the bed, placed it on the desk, pointing at the spot where I would normally sleep. But I didn't lie down. I sat, back against the wall, blanket wrapped tight, a mug of cold coffee between my hands, just to hold something. The clock blinked red across the room. 2:17 a.m. Every sound had weight now. The heater clicking, the fridge hum. Even my own breath, too loud in this new kind of silence. I kept the light on, not because I thought it would help, just to see shadows coming before they arrived. I wanted it to come, whatever it was, just so I could look it in the face. But nothing happened. Just time. Thick, endless time. At some point, my body betrayed me. My eyes blurred, blinked slower, my neck tilted, and I slipped. Not into sleep, but something between, like a thought that drags you under before you can catch it. When I opened my eyes, the lamp was off. Room dark. Clock, 5:11 a.m. Phone, still recording. I sat up fast, heart a drum. The air was colder, my skin felt damp, but I hadn't sweat. It was like something had touched me. I rushed to the phone. Screen, still glowing faintly. Recording stopped. 3 hours, 02 minutes, 18 seconds. I hit play. The video showed nothing, just the bed, empty, lamp on, no figures, no movement. Except at 3:42 a.m., the light flickered. Not a bulb dying, not power fluctuation. It pulsed, like it was breathing. And in that pulse, for a single frame, there was a shape, tall, still, watching the lens. It was gone the next instant, but I saw it, and it saw me. I backed away, opened the gallery. A new photo was waiting. I hadn't touched the camera, but the image was there. I was lying on the floor. Same hoodie, same socks, eyes shut. But I remembered sitting, not lying, and I never slept. In the photo, my head was tilted back, and next to me, clear this time, stood a figure. No face, just a presence, dressed in black, not shadow, not blur. It stood the way only something real can stand, with weight, with gravity. It wasn't moving, but I felt its patience, like it had all the time in the world. I tried to delete it, tried once, twice. The image wouldn't go. It just blinked and reappeared, unchanged, waiting. There's something strange that happens when you stop trying to understand. When fear burns so long, so quiet that it cools. Not calm, but still. I didn't leave the apartment. I didn't scream or post about it or call someone to explain the impossible. I just sat there, phone in hand, looking at that image. Again and again, trying to find a lie in it. Some artifact, some digital slip that says, this isn't real, but it was. The figure, the way it leaned slightly toward me, not as a threat, as a witness. It was watching, not like a person, like something that was meant to watch. I tried again. Delete. Nothing. The photo blinked, returned. I reset the phone, wiped everything. The screen went black, restarted, empty. But the moment I opened the camera app, there it was again. Same image, same timestamp, same figure. But now there was a second photo, new, just above it. My hands shook, my stomach went cold. I opened it, and it wasn't the bed this time. It was me, standing in the hallway, near the front door, eyes open but unfocused, like sleepwalking, and someone behind me, closer, so close I could almost hear breath in my neck, their hand just above my shoulder, not touching, just hovering, like waiting for permission. I stared at it for a long time, longer than I should have, because slowly a thought began to form, not from me, but through me. It's not taking photos, it's remembering. Not a lens, not a camera, but something else, a memory. A record of something I never agreed to live. And then I noticed something I hadn't before. In the newest photo, the angle was different. Not from the table, not the shelf. The perspective was high, unnaturally high, almost from the ceiling, or above that, looking down on me, through me. I looked up. Nothing. Just the ceiling fan. Still, but the air shifted, just slightly, as if something had exhaled. And now I don't check the gallery because I know the photo's still there. I don't sleep with the lights off. I don't sleep at all if I can help it, because whatever's watching isn't finished yet. And the worst part is, sometimes when I look at my reflection, I wonder if what's looking back is remembering me too. He hadn't been here in 15 years. The house still smelled the same. Dry wood, iron in the pipes. Something faintly sweet, like old vanilla soaked into paper. His grandmother was gone now, a quiet death. Peaceful, they said. He wasn't sure what that meant anymore. Not after everything. He opened the back door with the spare key still hidden behind the cracked brick. The kitchen looked frozen in time. Tea tins on the shelf, her apron still hanging on the hook. He didn't stay there long. The attic called to him. It always had. Creaking stairs, dust thick in the air, glittering like ash. The heat pressed close to his skin, dense still, as if the house were holding its breath. He stepped through the narrow doorway into the attic, ducking past the low beam, and exhaled slowly. The room was lined with boxes, old trunks, faded furniture draped in sheets like forgotten ghosts. His hand slid along the top of an old cedar chest, his grandmother's. He remembered it from childhood, the soft brass clasp, the smell of letters and dried lavender inside. He opened it. Letters, dozens of them, yellowed, folded, tied in ribbon, postcards, newspapers, photographs. He ran his fingers through them like he was searching for something, though he didn't know what. Then he paused. There it was, a black and white photograph, stiff, textured paper, faded at the corners, almost brittle. A group of children standing in front of a brick building, a school or a boarding home maybe. 8 of them, all in uniform, all with their eyes closed, except he brought the photo closer, blinked. Did she have her eyes open? A girl, second from the right, dark hair, strange expression. He couldn't tell. The photo was worn, slightly out of focus, and yet, click, a sound behind him, like a shutter. He turned, heart thudding. Nothing. The attic was silent, but he smelled something now. Sharp, chemical, not dust, not old wood. Something else, familiar, from childhood. That metallic, sour scent of old photo paper. Developer fluid, fixer, time burned into celluloid. His fingers tingled. He looked at the photo again, closer this time. The girl's eyes, maybe not open, maybe just darker than the rest. Still, something about her. She didn't belong to the group, not really. The others looked peaceful. She looked aware. He placed the photo aside, face down on the lid of the chest, tried to laugh at himself. But when he turned to leave the attic, he couldn't help but glance over his shoulder. one more time. He didn't look at the photo again that night, but he felt it. He didn't go back to the attic until the next afternoon. The house had been quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses on your ears, makes you hear things that aren't there. He told himself it was just the space, old wood, settling, but something in him was leaning toward the attic, like a weight. He climbed the stairs slowly, gripping the rail tighter than he meant to. The trapdoor creaked open. Light slanted through the single dusty window. The photograph still lay there, exactly where he'd left it. He picked it up, carefully, like it might sting, and it hit him. Not like a scream, but like a whisper you suddenly understand. The girl's head was turned, only a little, just a tilt. But it hadn't been like that yesterday. Had it? He stared, swallowed, tried to remember the exact angle of her chin, the way her hair fell. But memory was fog, unreliable. He carried the photo downstairs, sat at the kitchen table, turned on the scanner. As it warmed up, he remembered something his sister used to say when she was 6. Tiny voice, serious eyes. "Don't look too long, they'll blink." He smiled, and then didn't. The scanner lit up with a soft hum. He placed the photo down, closed the lid, and hit the button. Click. It wasn't the scanner. It came from behind him. He turned. Nothing. Just the ticking clock on the wall and the low hum of the fridge. But there it was again. That faint, sharp scent. Vinegar, metal, old chemicals. It wrapped around him like a fog from somewhere else. He looked at the screen, zoomed in. His breath caught. Her eyes were open, fully, not a blur, not a trick of the shadows. Wide, dark, staring straight ahead. None of the other children had their eyes open. Not one. Their faces were soft, neutral, like statues. But hers. There was something active in her gaze, something awake. He leaned back in his chair, hands still on the mouse. The air in the room had changed, denser, stiller. He turned the photo face down again, not because he needed to, but because it felt like it could see him. He sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. When he finally stood, he left the room without looking back. But at 3:12 a.m., he woke in the dark. The house was completely silent, and then, click, soft, delicate, just behind his door, like a camera with no one holding it. He couldn't stop thinking about the photo. It stayed with him, not in sight, but under the skin, a pressure, a shape pressing through the wallpaper of his thoughts. He went back to it the next morning. The kitchen was quiet again, too quiet. Even the fridge hum seemed to hold its breath. He turned the photograph over. There, in faint pencil, barely visible through the years, was a list of names, children's names, 8 of them. Some letters had faded, some were smudged by time, but he could make most of them out. Claire, Edith, Jonathan, Miriam. And then at the bottom, scrawled in smaller script, Eliza May. He knew it was her, the girl with the open eyes. The paper felt colder now, like it had been resting in ice. He opened his laptop and typed the names in one by one. Nothing, nothing. And then, an article. Local archive, August 1937. Tragedy at Pine Hollow Children's Home. 8 minors found deceased under unexplained circumstances. No signs of trauma. Authorities baffled. Incident remains unsolved. He stared at the grainy photo attached to the article. It was the same one, the same photograph, just cleaner, sharper, same children, same pose. Except in the version online, every child had their eyes closed, including her. He felt his heartbeat slow, then spike. He scrolled down to the comments, hands trembling slightly. Only one remained, dated from 10 years ago. If you find this photo, don't look at her too long. Don't speak her name. And whatever you do, don't look at it at night. He stared at the comment. Read it again. Then, without thinking, he whispered to himself, Eliza. Not loud, not even a whisper really, just breath and sound shaped into name, and then, click. A tiny noise, barely audible, like something winding. The light above the table flickered, once, twice, and the air shifted. That smell, sharp again, chemical, tangy like vinegar and steel. His skin went cold. He remembered something suddenly. His sister, 6 years old, whispering into the dark. When you say their names, they know where to find you. He used to laugh at her, pretend to be scared, but now it didn't feel funny. He looked up from the laptop, slowly. He felt it before he saw it. Not the photo, not the name. Presence, in the room, right there. Not in the past. Now. He put the photograph in the hallway closet, buried it between stacks of books and old coats. Shut the door, turned the key, walked away. That night, he didn't sleep much. The house had changed again, not in sound, but in silence. The kind of silence that makes you listen too hard, makes you imagine things, or hear things you wish you hadn't. In the morning, the photo was on the table, just there, waiting. He stopped in the doorway, didn't move for almost a minute. It was the same photograph, same children, same grainy paper, same crease at the corner. Except she was closer. The girl, Eliza. It wasn't dramatic, just enough. Her face had shifted forward. The angle of her shoulders, the way her head tilted, like she was leaning out of the picture. Reaching, and her mouth, the corner of it had lifted. Almost a smile. He didn't touch it, not right away. But later that day, when the air felt like it was sitting on his chest, he pulled a chair from the kitchen, set it in front of the photo, and sat down. He stared at her for a long time. Then he said softly, "You look like her. My sister." "You're not, though. Are you?" The room held its breath. Nothing moved, but something in the walls listened. That night, he dreamed. The window was open, cold air curling in. He stood in his childhood bedroom, old wallpaper, blue stars on the ceiling. And there, Eliza, standing by the window, her head tilted, that same unreadable expression, but she wasn't alone. Next to her, a girl in a yellow sweater holding a stuffed bear by its leg. His sister. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. They both looked at him. And then, click. He woke, heart racing, sheets tangled. The house was completely dark. No wind, no creaks, no night sounds. But there it was again. The smell. Photochemicals. Sharp and metallic. He turned his head slowly. On the floor beside his bed, right where his hand would fall if he reached down, the photograph. Face up. And Eliza was staring at him. He needed proof, not for anyone else, just for himself, to know he wasn't losing his mind. He set up his phone on a tripod, pointed it at the photo, hit record. The screen showed the image, unmoving, still. 8 children, closed eyes, one open. He left the room and tried not to think about it. But sleep didn't come that night. The silence had grown teeth. When he played the footage back the next morning, his breath caught. At first, nothing. The timestamp rolled forward. Hour 1, hour 2, and then, just past 2:14 a.m., the photograph trembled. The paper, the actual material, rippled. Subtle, like a breath against the surface. Then, slowly, painfully slowly, Eliza turned her head. She blinked. Once, then looked directly into the lens. He stopped the video, pushed the chair back too fast. The room spun. His pulse throbbed in his ears. He didn't think, didn't hesitate. He grabbed the photo, marched to the fireplace, and shoved it into the flames. It curled at the edges, turned brown, then black. Smoke rose, acrid and wet, and with it, a stench. Not paper, not ink, something darker, like burning hair, or meat, or bone. He choked on it. The flames hissed and popped. One spark jumped onto the rug. He stomped it out, slammed the iron grate shut, then stood, trembling. Done. Over. He didn't sleep that night either, and yet, when the sun broke across the floor the next morning, the photograph was on the kitchen table, unburned, untouched, Eliza in the center. Closer than ever. Her eyes seemed almost glossy now, reflective, as if something behind them was learning, watching. He left the house, didn't even grab his keys. He just walked down the dirt road toward the tree line. But there was no road. Where there should have been gravel, mist. Where there should have been the mailbox, white endless air. No birds, no insects, no wind. He turned in a slow circle. The house still stood behind him, but beyond it, nothing. No signal, no bars, no GPS. The world had shrunk. He stood in the mist trying to breathe. It wasn't fog, it was absence. It felt like the photograph, flat, dead. But behind the paper, something waiting. He turned and walked slowly back to the house. The door creaked open. On the table, the photo, face up. She was smiling now, just a little. He said it again, her name, not whispered, not accidental. This time he said it on purpose. Eliza. The word moved through the house like smoke. It hung in the air. It lingered. The light dimmed. The air grew heavy. Something shifted, not in the room, in the house itself, as if it had paused. He waited. Nothing happened. But that night she came closer. He dreamed again. She stood at the foot of his bed, no longer by the window, no longer distant. Her hair hung wet and dark, like she'd just crawled out of something deep. She didn't speak, didn't blink. She just stared. And behind her, barely visible in the shadows, his sister, still 6 years old, still in her yellow sweater, still holding that bear. But her face was changing, merging. He woke with a gasp. The room was still. His chest ached. His mouth was dry. He reached for water and froze. On the dresser across the room was a photo he hadn't seen in years. Him, age 12, his sister, standing in front of the house. He stepped closer, stared. Behind them, half faded in the background, was a shape, a girl, Eliza. He felt sick. He opened the bottom drawer of the dresser, the one he hadn't touched in years. Inside, the old shoebox, the one with his sister's things. He hadn't opened it since the funeral. He lifted the lid with shaking hands. The stuffed bear, a broken hair clip, and her doll, worn, missing an eye, the one she used to sleep with. He didn't know why he did it. But he took the doll, walked to the table, and placed it gently on the photograph, then waited. Nothing happened at first, but then the photograph darkened slightly, as if wet, and slowly, her hands moved, not on the real photo, on the image. Eliza now held the doll, fingers curled around the porcelain arm. He stepped back, knocking over the chair. The house creaked, the walls groaned, not settling, reacting. She had taken it, she had accepted it, and in that moment, he knew. She was looking for a body, she was looking for a place, and now, she was looking for him. He just wanted someone else to see it, to tell him he wasn't crazy, that this was real, that she was real. So he picked up his phone, held it out, faced the living room behind him, hit the shutter, click, a familiar sound, too familiar. He looked at the screen, paused. There, over his shoulder, Eliza, clear, sharp, standing just behind him, head slightly tilted, mouth not quite smiling, eyes open, his breath caught. He spun around. No one. Just the empty room, the afternoon sun stretching across the floor. But the smell came next. That smell again. Sharp, sour, old, like burned paper and vinegar, like a dark room where the photo develops itself. He didn't sleep that night, or the next. He left the phone recording, sat it on the mantel, let it capture the silence. 3 hours passed, then the battery died. No movement, no sound. Just a figure once in the far corner of the frame. For 2 seconds, still, watching, then gone. When the family finally arrived a month later, the door was unlocked, the house undisturbed, no sign of struggle, no sign of him. But there was a photo on the table, fresh, unaged, A group of children, old uniforms, soft focus, black and white. In the center, him, head lowered, eyes closed, just like the rest, except for one, Eliza, looking straight at the camera, and beside her, holding a doll with one glass eye, his sister. The faucet whispered like a voice too tired to speak. Drip, drip, drip. He stood there, barefoot, bare-chested, watching the water fill his cupped palms. It was almost 3 in the morning. Again. He didn't remember the last time he slept straight through the night. Some people drink, some scream into pillows. He washed his face, slowly, with care, like it might bring him back to life. There was comfort in the ritual: warm water, cold porcelain, a towel folded too neatly, the mirror above the sink, framed in fake chrome and a halo of dim light. It had always been just a mirror, until tonight. He leaned forward, breath fogging the glass. Exhaustion dragged under his eyes like bruises. One more splash. He closed his eyes, held the water on his skin, then let it run down like rain. He exhaled, and something shifted. Just for a second, he blinked. The room behind his reflection wasn't his. No white tiles, no faded shower curtain. It looked older. Yellowed wallpaper, an armchair in the corner, a doorway half open into darkness. He froze. His own face still stared back. Same jaw, same damp hair sticking to his forehead. But behind him, not his world. He turned around. Of course, still his bathroom, empty, silent, the hum of the pipes like a distant lullaby. He looked back at the mirror. Now everything was normal. Had he imagined it? Too much caffeine, he muttered, barely above a breath. But then, movement. In the mirror, just at the edge of the frame, a figure, blurry, passing. It wasn't him. It wasn't a reflection. It was something else. Someone. He stepped back, heart skipping like a bad record. The mirror remained still, cold, innocent. No more figure. No more strange room. Only his bathroom. Only him. He rubbed his eyes more out of habit than disbelief, but the image burned in his memory. Not vivid, no. Felt, like a half-remembered dream. Still, he stood there a little longer than usual, waiting, hoping. He didn't know for what, but the mirror showed nothing more. Just his own tired eyes and the slow return of silence. It became a habit, no, a need. Every night, just after 2, he'd rise from bed like sleep had never wanted him, barefoot on cold tile, hands on porcelain, the same quiet faucet, the same ritual. But now, the mirror was never just a mirror. It began slowly, flickers, blurred impressions, as if someone else's dream had leaked into the glass. A man shirtless and shaking, chained to a pipe in a dim basement, eyes wide, mouth open, gasping for air. Gone. A woman kneeling at the edge of a bed, whispering prayers through cracked lips. Candles melted to the bone. Gone. Children barefoot and laughing. No, chanting, dancing in a circle of salt. Their faces covered in soot or masks, their eyes never blinking. Gone. Each image lasted seconds, sometimes less. Like flipping through television channels in a house that no longer had power. And yet, he came back, night after night. He didn't touch the mirror, didn't speak, only watched. Tell yourself it's curiosity. Tell yourself it's nothing. Tell yourself it's harmless. I'm just looking, he whispered once. The mirror whispered nothing back, but the dreams kept coming, not his. He began to take notes. Scraps of paper littered the sink. Girl in red scarf, burned walls, clock with no hands, a journal of glimpses, a catalog of other people's terrors. Some scenes repeated, others evolved. That basement man? One night he was gone, but the blood was still on the wall. He started timing them. The longest lasted 13 seconds. The shortest, barely a blink. And still he watched. There was beauty in it too. A boy releasing lanterns over a black lake. A woman dancing alone in a grand, empty theater. An old man laughing as ash fell like snow. But the dark always returned. Always. He didn't tell anyone. Not that there was anyone to tell. And the mirror, it never cracked, never fogged. It waited. He found himself whispering to it. Soft things. Dream things. Show me again. Let me see. He told himself it was nothing. Just a trick of the light. Stress. Sleep deprivation. But something deep inside. Something behind the ribs, beneath the logic, knew. These were not dreams. Not memories. Not imagination. They were lives. Strangers' lives. Spilled into glass. And every time he looked, they looked a little closer to him. That night, the mirror was black. No flickers, no flickering candles, no half-lit rooms, just dark glass, still, waiting. He leaned closer, breath shallow. His reflection didn't come. No face, no water running, just him in the silence behind the glass. And then, light, not from his bathroom, from within. A faint glow bloomed inside the mirror, like moonlight through stained glass. He stepped forward. A woman sat at a vanity, long dark hair, straight and still, her back to him, her hands resting on the table, fingers splayed, nails pale. Candles lit the room around her, small flames dancing without heat. She was whispering. No sound reached him, only the shape of words, mouth moving slowly, ritual words. Her shoulders trembled just once, and then she turned. Not all at once. Not like a startled bird, but slowly, deliberately. Her face came into view. Eyes dark, wide, unnaturally wide, like they'd forgotten how to blink. Skin porcelain, almost too smooth, like she'd been sculpted, not born. A faint scar ran from her lip to her jawline, but none of that mattered, because she was looking at him, not at the mirror, not through him, at him, like she knew. His chest tightened. He couldn't move. She tilted her head. The whispering stopped. And though the glass was thick, though the distance was unreal, he felt her breath. Somehow, cool, like air from a long-abandoned room. Then, the light in his bathroom flickered. The ceiling bulb crackled, stuttered, a sound like bones snapping beneath cloth. He stumbled back, heart hammering, and she smiled, not wide, not evil, just enough, as if she'd been waiting for him to notice. He slammed the light off. Darkness, pure, suffocating. But her eyes, he still saw them, burning in the afterimage, etched into his vision. Even with his back against the door, lights off, breath frozen, he knew. She had seen him, and worse, she remembered. He stopped sleeping, not out of fear, out of anticipation. Sleep meant absence. Dreams that weren't hers were wasted. So he stayed awake, in the bathroom, on the cold tile, wrapped in a blanket, waiting. Sometimes hours passed and the mirror stayed blank, but sometimes she came back, always in candlelight, always silent, always surrounded. Figures stood around her now, hooded, faceless, motionless. Each time, a little more of the scene revealed itself. A floor drawn in chalk, marked with curling symbols, knotted ropes, a bowl of something red, the glint of a blade, and she, always at the center, her hands outstretched, her mouth moving in soundless prayer. He watched, night after night, scene after scene. He began to copy the symbols, on paper at first, then on the walls, then on his skin. Not out of madness, out of need. They weren't random, he told himself. They meant something. They spoke a language older than dreams. He called off work, stopped checking messages, let food rot in the fridge. He whispered to the mirror, "Who are you? Let me in. Show me more." Sometimes he sang to it, low, tuneless hums, as if sound could bridge the glass. No one visited. He wouldn't have answered the door if they had. The bathroom became his chapel, the mirror, his altar. He no longer felt alone. Not really. There was always the sense that she was near, just behind the glass. And then, One night, she answered, not in words, in breath. He heard it, faint, soft. Like someone exhaling near his ear, he froze, pressed his palm to the glass. It was warm, not the way mirrors should be, not anymore. He spoke her name, but he didn't know it, so he made one up, a name that tasted like rust in shadow, like fog caught in a mouth. Sivra! It felt right. The mirror didn't shatter, didn't glow. It pulsed. Once, and then her voice, not outside, not inside, but through him, a whisper that wasn't sound, a thought that wasn't his. Closer. He pressed his forehead to the glass, closed his eyes, and smiled. The night was silent. No cars, no wind. Even the pipes seemed to hold their breath. He stood before the mirror. Bare skin, bare soul. The glass was black, not dark, black, like ink that swallowed light, like it wasn't reflecting anymore, just watching. He didn't move, neither did the reflection. Not because it was still, because there was nothing there. No face, no outline, just a shadow that didn't belong to the room. Then, the reflection twitched, a flick, quick, wrong. It moved before he did. He didn't blink, didn't dare. His own breath felt borrowed. Slowly, the silhouette in the mirror lifted a hand. Not his hand, not in sync, just lifted, then dropped, as if testing control. He tried raising his own hand. The reflection didn't follow. Instead, something else appeared, behind him, not in the room, only in the glass. A woman, her, standing inches behind his shadow, head tilted, eyes unblinking. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. He stared at the glass, too afraid to turn. If he turned, he didn't know where he'd be. Her gaze was fixed on the back of his reflection's skull. Her mouth moved, no sound, a whisper to the mirror, a command. Then, his reflection moved again. It raised its head, but he hadn't. He stood frozen, and yet in the glass, his face lifted, jerky, slow, like strings being pulled, and the eyes that met his were not his, too wide, too dark. Something old behind them, something human, but only just. They blinked, once, then smiled. A small, knowing smile, the kind people give at funerals or weddings, moments when souls shift. He couldn't scream, couldn't run, only stare. The smile in the mirror grew, and his body, his real body, began to tremble. He didn't know why, until he realized. He wasn't cold, he was being watched, from inside. The mirror pulsed, and behind him, in the room where no one stood, he heard breath, not his, soft, steady, right at his neck. He woke on the floor, bare skin pressed against cold tile. His arms were damp, sticky, stinging. When he looked, thin lines, shallow cuts across his forearms. Not deep, but enough to weep, enough to mean something. He sat up slowly. The bathroom was dim, gray, as if light itself had dulled. The mirror was gone, shattered, a jagged wound across the wall, shards everywhere, glittering in silence. He didn't remember breaking it, but he must have, right? The largest piece still clung to the wall like a tooth. Its surface was fogged from the inside, and there, in the misted glass, a shape. He crawled closer, knees aching, palms shaking. The imprint was unmistakable, a forehead, pressed firm against the inside of the mirror. Just above it, the faintest smudge of a nose, the ghost of breath. He stared, long and slow, then whispered, voice raw, barely a thread. "I watched too long." The glass didn't answer. It didn't need to, because something looked back, just a fragment, in a triangle of mirror no bigger than his palm. His eye, but not quite. The shape was right, the lashes, the color, but it blinked. Once, he didn't. He backed away, hands slipping in blood, legs weak, mind unraveling. The mirror stayed broken, but the eye stayed open, watching, always watching. In the silence, he could hear it, his own breathing, and something else, like wind behind stone, like sighs in places never touched by sun. He wanted to scream, but nothing came. Only this thought settling into his mind like dust. Maybe I was never looking into the mirror. Maybe I was always on the other side. The room dimmed, the cold deepened, and in the glass, the eye blinked again, soft, patient, like it had all the time in the world. End of transmission. Silence holds. You are not alone in your reflection.